And the leader of the Proud Boys isn't an old white guy. He's Enrique Tarrio, an Afro-Cuban. He burns crosses on his own wall.
Bill Maher is criticizing Democrats again, and this time he isn't holding back. On live TV, he said what many within the party refuse to admit openly. For years, Democrats have built much of their message around identity, race, gender, and group grievances. But Maher's point cuts straight through it, that strategy isn't just outdated, it's one of the main reasons they keep losing.
But I do give a shit who wins the next election. And outdated racial pandering is one reason Democrats lose elections. When Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi put on kente cloth, I don't think it earned them one vote for their powerful emotional ties to Ghana. Here in California, we're now segregating.
This is the part the Democratic establishment hates hearing. Maher isn't attacking from the right, he's criticizing from within the tent, which is why his words hit harder. When Schumer and Pelosi wore kente cloth for a photo op, Maher argued that it didn't win a single vote, it only made grown adults look like they were cosplaying solidarity. That image captures the entire problem, a party so addicted to performing identity politics that it forgot how to connect with actual voters.
Here in California, we're now segregating kidnapping. Really, California doesn't just have Amber Alerts for missing children. We have Ebony Alerts for black children and Feather Alerts for Native American kids. What is that? We look for them by listening on the ground? Look, even if you like identity politics.
Then he goes even further, pointing out that California has begun separating missing children alerts by race, Amber Alerts for one group, Ebony Alerts for another, and Feather Alerts for Native children. To put it plainly, when your idea of racial progress involves sorting kidnapped children into demographic categories, you stopped addressing racism and started reinforcing division. That's not effective policy, it's a permanent framework of separation dressed up as compassion.
This kind of thing is antiquated. From 2010 to 2020, the number of people identifying as multiracial in America went up 276%. 1 in 5 newlyweds now are in an interracial marriage, and that number goes up to 100% in ads for Subaru. You couldn't do a remake of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner today because almost 100% of Americans approve of interracial marriage, especially with rich in-laws. And 95% of white women would leave their husband to marry Idris Elba.
Here's what Maher wants Democrats to understand: America is no longer the country their outdated slide decks still describe. From 2010 to 2020, the number of people identifying as multiracial increased by 276%, and 1 in 5 newlyweds is now in an interracial marriage. The country has evolved, but the party hasn't kept pace. Maher reinforces his point by citing voices like Morgan Freeman, Raven-Symoné, and Idris Elba, all echoing the same message that many Democrats refuse to hear: stop labeling people, and those labels begin to lose their power.
Democrats are hemorrhaging the very voters they think they're pandering to. The Financial Times writes, Democrats are going backwards faster with voters of color than any other demographic, and suggests the reason is that a less racially divided America is an America where people vote more based on their beliefs than their identity. Exactly. Far-left liberals are living in an old paradigm. Americans don't fit into neat little boxes anymore.
This is where the criticism shifts from cultural analysis to electoral reality. Maher isn't just theorizing, he points to the evidence. The Financial Times reported that Democrats are losing voters of color faster than any other demographic group in America. Faster than any other group. The very voters the party once assumed it could count on by default are drifting away, and Maher's explanation is blunt: in a less racially divided America, people vote based on beliefs and values, not identity alone. Democrats, he argues, have built their entire political machine for a version of the country that no longer exists.
Democrats have been having a lot of donor retreats lately where liberal strategists hold idea farms, where they try to figure out why they keep losing elections. You know, apart from using words like idea farm. And now one idea that's getting a lot of attention is the Dems need to find their Joe Rogan, a liberal Joe Rogan, because that's why common law laws, Republicans have a podcast. Okay, maybe. Or you could consider this.
Now, here's the striking part of Maher's argument: very little of it is actually controversial. He's citing many of the same statistics that Democratic strategists themselves discuss at donor retreats. Reports from those meetings describe what insiders now call ideathons, extended strategy sessions where party leaders try to understand why they keep losing ground. And the conclusion they repeatedly arrive at is the very point Maher stated on television: they've lost the room.
Being woke is like a magic moral time machine where you judge everybody against what you imagine you would have done in 1066, and you always win. Presentism. Yeah, this professor is right. It's just a way to congratulate yourself about being better than George Washington because you have a gay friend and he didn't. But
he extends the argument beyond race to challenge an entire worldview. Maher argues that identity politics is no longer just about race, it has become a broader habit of thought. According to him, the same mindset that categorizes kidnapping alerts by demographics also reshapes history into something closer to fiction, from schools rewriting the past to plays recasting Joan of Arc as non-binary, and curriculum suggesting that gender itself was imposed by colonizers. Maher describes this as presentism, judging the past by the standards of the present, then congratulating yourself for winning a fight that no one in that era was even having.
Now me, again, you don't have to win me back because I never left. With all the guys in America like Joe and Elon, yeah, you do have to win them back. The good news is you can. Elon has gone from saying, I love Donald Trump as much as a straight man can love another man. To a week ago saying, I'm a little stuck in a bind here. I don't want to speak against the administration, but I also don't want to take responsibility for everything they're doing. And now, I have proof he's in the Epstein files.
Here's where the argument becomes especially uncomfortable for the party. Maher points out that Democrats have lost figures like Joe Rogan and Elon Musk, people who once might have aligned more naturally with liberal ideas. His argument is not that these individuals necessarily moved to the right, but that the party moved beyond them. According to a source close to the show, Maher is genuinely frustrated by how avoidable he believes this shift was. As he puts it, you don't try to create a new Joe Rogan, you ask why you lost the original one in the first place.
Yeah, I got bad news for you. They don't have a monopoly on stupid. You wear Queers for Palestine t-shirts and masks 2 years after the pandemic ended. And you can't define woman, person who menstruates. You're the teachers' union education party and you've turned schools and colleges into a joke. You just lost a crazy contest to an actual crazy person.
And that, Maher argues, is exactly why the post-election autopsy turned into a meltdown. Instead of engaging in serious self-reflection, he says the far left responded the way it often does, by doubling down. From Queers for Palestine slogans to continued mass symbolism years after the pandemic had subsided, to a party he claims struggles to answer basic cultural questions without consulting focus groups, Maher's criticism is that these responses only widened the disconnect. In his view, they didn't just lose the argument, they lost the room.
You love to speak truth to power, and we always should, but you have completely lost the ability to speak truth from bullshit. The Democratic polling firm Blueprint told Democrats months ago that black voters, aka their supposedly liberal base, were more likely to find the president too liberal than too conservative. They also found that voters didn't just want Harris to distance herself from Biden, they wanted her to distance herself from what they believe the entire Democratic Party has become. A Portlandia sketch.
For many voters, this is the line that finally explains the loss. Maher's polling argument backs it up. Black voters told Democrats their president was too liberal, not too conservative, and Hispanic voters wanted tighter borders. The base the party assumed it spoke for had been telling them the truth for years, but no one at the top was listening. According to people who have worked in Democratic campaigns, the internal data looked exactly like Maher describes, and yet no one acted on it.
The New York Times called it racist. Democrats have become like a royal family that, because of so much incest, has unfortunately had children who are retarded. And the same thing can happen to ideas if they are also conceived in an atmosphere of intellectual incest. Maybe take the close-pinned coffee noses and actually converse with the other half of the country. Stop screaming at people to get with the program and instead make a program worth getting with.
This is the part Maher says nobody in the party will admit out loud. In his words, Democrats have become a royal family weakened by intellectual incest, the same circles, the same vocabulary, and the same assumptions repeating generation after generation, with little outside perspective entering the system. He argues that this isn't just a messaging problem, but a deeper credibility crisis, a systemic failure that is often framed as moral superiority.
My point is, look, you're still building your politics around slicing and dicing people into these fixed categories. Democrats need to get the memo that you can't win elections anymore by automatically assuming you're going to get every voter who's not these guys. The more you obsess over identity, the more you ignore the bread and butter issues that win and lose elections. The real issue is class, not race, and the real gap is the diploma divide.
And the final blow Maher lands is the one that should worry every Democratic strategist watching, because he isn't an opponent, he's a voter. A voter who says he never left, but instead watched the party leave him. He still cares about democracy, but in his view, the party traded that concern for what he sees as an aggressively anti-common-sense agenda, one that ultimately helped hand Republicans the White House, the Senate, the House, and the Supreme Court.